Hello everyone. I'm Anubhav Sharma. I'm the faculty for Indian Polity and Public Administration at Rouse IAS. In this video, we are going to discuss one of the questions that was asked in this year's mains, that is GS paper 2, question number 13. Let's read the question. Account for the legal and political factors responsible for reduced frequency of use of Article 356 by Union government since mid 1990s. One of the things that I always suggest my students with respect to how exactly you're supposed to approach the question is to make it simple for yourself so that you're able to understand exact demand of the question and then focus on meeting that exact demand. What exactly the question is about? This question is about emergency provisions. With respect to emergency provisions, it is talking about Article 356, which is, we know, President's Rule. What exactly the question is saying? The question is saying that since 1990s, mid 1990s, we see that there has been a decline of use of Article 356 by government, and we need to list down the political reasons and we need to list down the legal reasons why exactly there has been a decline in use of Article 356 by Union government. In this regard, what can be the way in which we need to approach it? First, of course, is intro. We need to talk about a good intro. Then we also will need to have a good body for the answer which meets the demand of the question. And of course, the third part, that is conclusion. What will be a good conclusion for this answer? Let's talk about an intro. Now, the thing is, there can be multiple good intros for any question. But something that we need to keep in mind is a good intro will always be one in UPSC answers which is able to give value to your answer. It should not be a dry intro where you're just repeating the question or you're stating the obvious. You should be talking about something by which you're able to communicate a good, distinct, good value in your point, in your answer, in your intro. For example, one of the good intros for this answer can be a statement of B.R. Ambedkar. What exactly Baba Sahib Ambedkar had said? He had said in the floor of Constituent Assembly while discussing about Article 356 that in my opinion, Article 356 is going to be a dead letter. Why a dead letter? Because he believed after independence, state and union are going to cooperate with each other and there will not be any reason to believe state can act in a manner in which there is breakdown of constitutional machinery at the state level. This can be an introduction. What else can be a introduction? You can just talk about what exactly is Article 356. In a brief manner, explain what happens when Article 356 is imposed. You can talk about Article 356 is one of the emergency provisions under which governor can request the president, can send a report to the president that president, I request you to please impose Article 356 in my state because I believe constitutional machinery at the state level has broken down. In this respect, you can also mention the example of Article 365. In this regard, what exactly is the takeaway? The takeaway is your introduction is effective as long as it is able to bring value to your answer. Of course, it should be within the context of the question. Once we are done with introduction, the next part is we need to understand body of this answer. In body, what do we understand? What we understand is it essentially requires us to do two things. One, list down all the legal factors and list down all the political factors which essentially led to what? Which led to decline in use of Article 356 by Union government. In this respect, we just need to understand something. Right after independence, right after coming of the constitution, there was this hope that Article 356 will not be used by the union for the reason states are not going to behave in a manner in which they essentially are going to do what? Go against the constitution. But unfortunately, what exactly we saw after independence? Not just Article 356 was used by the union government, a lot of times it was being used for only political reasons. It was being used in order to dismiss those governments which are headed by political parties which is not of the center. So one political party gets into power at the center, they will use Article 356 to dismiss their opposition's political party which is in power in different states. As such, there was a clear politicization in use of Article 356. As such, we saw what? Frequent use of Article 356 by the Union. In this respect, what had happened was a landmark judgment of Supreme Court in 1994, that is SR Bomai case. What exactly was this case about? A number of petitioners have gone to court where they had said that powers under Article 356 are getting abused. It is being exercised in a malified manner. It is being exercised in an arbitrary manner. And we request the Honorable Court to please give us guidelines as to when exactly 356 can or cannot be used. We want Honorable Court to perform judicial review on the use of Article 356. If at all it is malified, Supreme Court should do something about it. On the other hand, what exactly the government said? Government said the fact that, sir, we believe that you cannot perform judicial review on usage of Article 356 for the simple reason Article 356 is used under the advice, that is, President is imposing Article 356 on the advice of Union Council of Ministers. Union Council of Ministers are advising the President under Article 74. And Article 74 is very clear that whenever advice is being tendered to the President, such an advice cannot be subjected to judicial review. It cannot be looked into by any court. In this respect, what is the idea? The idea is that when we essentially look at Article 356, on one hand, we essentially have petitioners who are arguing that it is something that should be subjected to judicial review, while the government, that is Union government, is arguing no, it should not be subjected to judicial review. Then came the SR Bomai judgment. What exactly Supreme Court said? Supreme Court said judicial review can happen on use of Article 356. Supreme Court said that whenever Article 356 is being used, one can argue it is based on the report sent by Governor to the President. When this report is being sent by the Governor to the President, we would want to believe that it is based on some objective grounds. Whenever someone is asking Supreme Court to look into imposition of Article 356 being malified or not, we are going to look into this objective material, that is report sent by Governor to the President. We can look into whether the grounds were in fact there to impose 356 or not. In this process, we are not at all bothered about Article 74. That is, we are not going to look into the advice tendered by the Council of Ministers to the President. We just want to satisfy ourselves the objective materials or objective grounds were there. Now, for the students, for the aspirants who might be knowing that Article 356 can also be imposed without the report sent by Governor to the President. In this respect, what exactly Supreme Court said, if that is the case, that Governor never recommended imposition of Article 356, it was done by the President, we would want to believe it was done by on the grounds that there was this intelligence report given by intelligence agencies, police agencies, which became the reason for President to get convinced grounds have occurred for which constitutional machinery at the state can be presumed to be have broken. As such, 356 is imminent, it needs to be imposed. We are going to look into this intelligence report. That means if governor's advice is the basis on which president rule is sort of proclaimed, Article 356 is imposed, we are going to look into the governor's report as a way to perform judicial review. If at all it is without governor's report, then we essentially are going to look into that intelligence report that became the basis for the union, for the president to impose Article 356. Not just that, Supreme Court said, if in the imposition of Article 356, State Legislative Assembly has been dissolved, and later it is found after judicial review that this power was exercised in a malified manner, then Supreme Court not only will stop the imposition of Article 356, Supreme Court will bring back the dissolved assembly back to life. This again is an extraordinary power that Supreme Court can exercise if at all it believes a constitutional authority, that is Article 356 के अंदर की powers, the powers within Article 356 has been exercised in a malified manner. As such, what exactly do we take away? The biggest legal factor that essentially had happened, which led to decline in the use of Article 356 from mid 1990s, was SR Bomai judgment or case in 1994. As such, what exactly we need to write? As a part of legal factors, we need to talk about some of the things that Supreme Court had made clear. First thing was, Supreme Court can perform judicial review on Article 356. Supreme Court had said the fact that, well, if at all we believe that power was exercised in a malified manner, then we can bring back state legislative assembly, bring back to life. Supreme Court had also put the limitation that if at all you want to dissolve legislative assembly, it can be done only when the matter has been ratified by both houses of the parliament. Again, a limitation that has been put in place. In this respect, we can also quote examples what happened after the coming of this judgment. Not only the fact that there was a drastic drop in the use of Article 356 by the Union, what we also witnessed was in 1997, President K.R. Narayanan had sent back a request for reconsideration where the government had asked President Narayanan to impose Article 356 in a state. What exactly President K.R. Narayanan said? President K.R. Narayanan, while sending back the advice to Prime Minister, noted that Mr. Prime Minister, I believe this request, this order that you are sending to me is going to be against SR Bomai judgment. In this regard, what exactly government did? Government decided to take back its advice, take back its decision with respect to imposition of Article 356. One can argue this again has become a way in which President was able to exercise moral authority by exercising his constitutional legal powers to ask for cabinet to reconsider its advice in order to check the abuse of Article 356. Make sense? Then we also will need to talk about political factors. What exactly were the political factors for which we see decline in use of Article 356? The first political factor, which is relevant to 1990s and era after it, is the rise of coalition politics. What exactly is coalition politics? Regional parties which were able to win state elections were also now able to get representation of their representatives in Lok Sabha. Because they have won in state elections, they essentially will be able to send their representative in the Rajya Sabha. And now no party, no national party was able to get single party majority like it used to happen before. As such, what is required? What is required is now you will need to form coalitions. When you're forming coalitions, what exactly is the idea? You will need to be a lot more accommodative to the interest of smaller political parties, and you cannot abuse your power under Article 356 at the center in order to dissolve assemblies at the state, because these parties who are in power at the state are also your coalition partners at the union. In this respect, what happened? Due to political reasons, now usage of Article 356 had become very, very rare. There was another reason. The era of 90s till 2014 essentially was an era what was happening? Political alliances were getting made, political alliances were getting broken, and there were so many things that were changing almost every year. In this aspect, it could be that there is a political party which is in opposition to you at the national level, which is in power at the state. It might just be in future you might have to form an alliance with this party. In this regard, because you do not want to close any doors, again there was a political pressure of whosoever was in power at the union to not exercise Article 356, because you do not want to create enemies out of political parties which are dominant at the state level. Then there were another reasons. What was the other reason? The other reason was more aware citizenry. Citizens had become lot more aware than before. Citizens, because of 24/7 media, because of technology, were now able to understand how decisions are being taken. They were being critical about abuse of authority by anyone, state government or union government. Now imagine imposition of Article 356 by union in a malified manner. It is going to come at political cost. That is, people are going to get angry at the union government, something that government would not want. That means Expansion of media, more awareness among people, more literacy, more education essentially led to now government being very careful about usage of Article 356 on states. This another reason, very, very interesting, that is LPG. What is LPG? Liberalization, privatization, globalization, coming of new economic reforms into India. You'll be asking, but sir, how exactly it is this related? How exactly this led to less usage of Article 356? The reason is, the very moment we had opened up our economy, what exactly we had done? We essentially were inviting global investments from around the world. We wanted global investors to invest in India. We wanted more of FDI investment. We wanted more of FII investment. But then one of the things that you see with respect to investment is, global investors would want to invest in those countries where there is political stability, where there is predictability. If at all there is arbitrary imposition of Article 356, this is something that investors will never like. You would require a better way in which you essentially are able to coordinate and cooperate with states, even though they might be your political opposition, in order to get things done. Now in 1990s, in 2000s and 2010s, 2020s. As such, what exactly had happened? We started moving towards cooperative federalism. Irrespective of the government at the center, they wanted to have a cooperative relation with the state governments, irrespective of who exactly is in power with the state government. As such, what happened? If at all, the idea of union in order to grow India, develop India, is based on we needing different ways in which global investment happened, infrastructure projects are getting made, we are able to create all sorts of ways in which we are able to create more jobs, we are going to require the support of state. We would want cooperative federalism to happen, which can never happen if we are in a malified manner exercising 356. As such, this can also be taken as one of a very important reason why union governments were elected to use Article 356. This will be the body of your answer. You have mentioned both legal points, legal factors, as well as political factors. What can be a conclusion for this answer? Again, as I said, there is no one good conclusion that you can write. There can be multiple ways in which you can write a conclusion. You can mention about what? Mention about cases where Supreme Court, for example, with respect to Rawat government in Uttarakhand, what exactly Supreme Court had done? Supreme Court had said the fact that imposition of Article 356 was on a malified manner, and they reversed it. And they brought back Rawat government, that is Rawat Legislative Assembly, back to life. In this regard, what is the idea? This can be a conclusion. You can just talk about how exactly SL Bhumai judgment is something that has led to better balance of federalism. What else you can write? You essentially can note about what exactly is Indian federalism. For example, in SL Bhumai judgment itself, Supreme Court had noted that in Indian federalism, while union is more powerful than the state within its sphere is supreme. In other words, this can be an effective conclusion here because you're talking about federalism and you're talking about Indian form of federalism. What else can be a good conclusion? You can talk about federalism has been characterized, has been accepted as a basic structure of Indian constitution. Supreme Court has identified federalism to be a basic structure of Indian constitution, and that is why usage of Article 356 in a malified manner goes against this basic structure. This again can be a conclusion. So as I said, there is no one way to write a good conclusion or a right conclusion. There are multiple ways in which you can write a good conclusion, right conclusion, good introduction, right introduction. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you.